All right, everybody, this is the How to Hunt Turkey podcast. I'm your host, Dan Johnson, and today's guest is Mr. Derek Craig. Derek, man, how we doing?
I'm doing great, Dan. It is wonderful to be back talking to you again, and especially so soon because we just
Yep.
spoke a couple weeks ago. So,
yeah. Different podcast, but same host, same guest, and we're talking turkeys today. But how many states do you turkey hunt throughout the year?
Well, anymore, just a couple. I used to way back in the day, late '90s, all through the 2000s, up until probably up until about 4 or 5 years ago. I would bounce around and hit anywhere from 3 to 5 different states a year, depending on what my calendar, let me, get out there, and I was blessed to do. And there's been a lot of changes, obviously, we can talk about in turkey hunting over the last 25, 30 years. But anymore, you hear people say this, and I think this is when you get older. I'm not as mad at them as I used to be. So, plus my life is so busy. But this year, just Indiana, and I do have a Michigan tag, and so I'm just focusing on those 2 states this year.
Indiana and Michigan. All right, I gotcha. Are you bow hunting both of those states?
Correct.
For turkeys? Okay.
Correct.
All right. How many years have you been bow hunting turkeys?
Oh boy, I think I started bow hunting turkeys in about, I want to say it was somewhere around 2003. I think it was. So we're talking over 20 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. And I kind of want to get into that today, but before we get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, I do have to send a huge shout out to our partner over at Montana Decoys. Montana Decoys offers a wide variety of very portable, very lightweight decoys, including their brand new turkey decoys that they've revamped and have come out with this year. So if you're interested, and there's still a lot of turkey season left, and especially now with green up, you're probably going to start moving out of the timber and trying to get them to come to you in the pastures or in the fields before they start getting planted. And one way to do that is with a decoy. So go check out montanadecoy.com. All right. Bow hunting turkeys. All right. What kind of skill set is different when you are trying to get a turkey within bow range?
Well, the biggest thing anymore is getting them close enough. That's the number one thing. And that's changed over the years, because if you go back 10, 20, 30 years ago, most of your even shotgun hunting turkeys, because of shot type that was out there, as far as like copper plated lead shot, you wanted them close. I mean, it was always like back in those days, it was always a 20 to 30 yard game, for the most part.
Yeah.
Now with current shot, technology that's out there, which is amazing, TSS and all the other non-toxic options that are out there, that ability to shoot longer with a shotgun makes it, it really expands what you're able to do when it comes to running gun shotgun hunting. But bow hunting really hasn't changed. I mean, we are still drawing back a compound or a recurve bow, and you're slinging an arrow out there. And so, I always say that turkey hunting with a bow is a 20-yard and in game. I've killed a few at 25 before, and I know a lot of others who have killed them further. But for the most part, the main difference is getting them into your lap a lot closer in your face, and then trying to hold them for some amount of time. If you got a turkey that just comes running in and you got a shotgun, it's pretty easy to pull up and shoot them pretty quick. On a bow, you really want them to settle down, and you want a little bit more time so that you can make a good ethical shot. However you're going to shoot them, body shot, head shot, whatever. So that's really the big difference is, there's a lot of practice that goes into making that archery shot and learning a turkey anatomy. Again, it's just a little more complex than it is just, hey, aim at the red, white, and blue head and neck, with your 12 or 20 gauge and lay them out, So.
Yeah. Yep. I'll expand on that. I can remember the the first shotgun I ever had was this, or that I ever used, was a Mossberg all black pump shotgun. It might be just a little bit older of a version that I currently have, which is that was a 12 gauge. I'm sorry. The one I use now is a Mossberg pump that is a 20 gauge, but that 12 gauge, man, no choke. And it was back then there was no TSS, and they needed to be close in order for me, because I can remember the first time I ever pulled the trigger on a turkey. I had a Tom come in full strut, and I think I aimed a little bit too low, and he took, at probably 25, 30 yards, he took all of it straight to the chest and ran away. Nothing, like, we looked for him, couldn't find him. He like got up and flew, and it just seemed like it didn't phase him too much. And I don't know what happened after that, but then, you start dabbling in chokes, and you start dabbling in, the new TSS that seems to stay tighter longer. And now your range is going out, where I'm hearing dudes, telling me there's zero problem with their setup with TSS and chokes at like 60 yards, which is pretty bananas to me when they're holding together that long. So it's definitely changed over the years. And let's be honest, when you have an expanded distance, that means you don't need to be, or range with your weapon, you don't need to be as close to the animal. And therefore, not only is the weapon more forgiving, but your motion is, your movement in the woods is also more forgiving. Now, my question back to you then is, with them getting so close, needing them so close, is a blind necessary? Are decoys necessary to hold them in one spot a little bit longer than, I don't know, just calling from some fence row?
Well, the term necessary, no.
Yeah.
I mean, do they help significantly? Yes.
Yeah.
I've killed them with a bow about every way conceivable. I've done it no decoys. I've done it, with decoys. I've done it setting against a tree, hiding in the brush. My preferred way is a blind, and I'll be honest, that's the way I kill the vast majority of them.
Mm-hmm.
For a couple reasons. I self-film everything, so it makes filming way easier. It's one less thing I have to hide. And B, quite honestly, I mean, I'm almost 57 years old. My bones don't enjoy sitting with my ass on the ground up against a tree in the wet and everything for hours on end. And so that's not, true turkey hunting by the purists. Whatever. I've done it. I did it, back in the day, ran and gun. So yes, they're not necessary. I mean, there's plenty of guys out there doing it. I've got mad respect for the guys that go out there and especially the ones that stealth film bow hunting birds sitting on the ground. And you're going to find still the vast majority of even those people who are self-filming or have somebody else filming them on the ground without a blind are still using decoys. At the end of the day, the decoy is, when you're considering bow hunting birds, the decoy is really a huge factor, because A, it helps draw them in super close, and B, it tends to hold them. I mean, sometimes they hit it and run, and that's frustrating, but it tends to hold them so that you can wait on the best time to draw, the best position of the turkey for whatever shot you're going to take, and all of that. So, and that whole game has really changed with, you go back about 2008, 7, 8, somewhere in that, when DSD, Dave Smith Decoys, came out with the first ultra realistic turkey decoy. And now it's amazing. There's all these brands. I mean, you mentioned one of your sponsors, Montana. I mean, there's all these brands now, Avian X, all of them. I could rattle them off. They all make ultra realistic, amazing looking decoys now. And that is a deadly tool for any turkey hunter, but especially a bow hunting turkey hunter.
Yeah. Do you feel that you mentioned the term hold them? Does that term also kind of mean distract them as well? Like they're focused on the decoy while you're moving around, while you're drawing, while you're getting settled, pin? Yeah.
Most definitely. The decoy does its job of pulling them to you, and
Hmm.
they're almost always 99.9% of the time they're going to go to the male decoy. I joke you could have footballs out there for hen decoys,
Yeah.
because they typically focus on that male decoy.
Yeah.
But not yeah, it holds them in there and it distracts them. They focus on that, and it allows you, again, time to let them settle down. A lot of times they come in and they just wanna beat the shit out of it.
Hmm.
And if you let them ride that out, they'll start settling down, as they it gets like a boxer, wears himself out in the fight, and
Hmm.
then you can pick your shot or pick your time to draw, especially if you're not hunting in a blind. At that point, your time to draw is obviously when he's facing away. Hopefully, he even fans out his tail and you can get drawn back and he can't see you.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. It's all about timing. It's all about being patient. But the decoys are the key in getting that part of it done.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, when it comes to the moment when you have to draw back the bow on the turkey that you're wanting
Mhm.
to shoot, what are you looking for from the turkey as far as the optimal shot opportunity?
Well, again, so it circles back to letting him calm down. I've been guilty of this too many times, whether you're body shooting or head and neck shooting, doesn't matter. About the excitement of, oh man, they're here.
Mhm.
Holy crap, I've been, doing this. And all of a sudden, here's the opportunity. And you draw back and you take a shot because that bird's just all over the place. He's just going to town, beating the crap out of the decoy.
Yeah.
So again, it waits for that. Now, if you're head neck shooting him like I like to do, you're going to wait till he settles down and hopefully wait till he gets that neck and head extended upward a little bit so you're not dealing with hitting feathers and stuff. If you're body shooting them, you better know your turkey anatomy and you're going to wait and pick your shot. I mean, personally, when it comes to body shooting, it my preference would be a perfectly broadside bird, and then aiming for somewhere in that between the wing butts and where the drumsticks meet up in the body. Because if you can take out his running gear, or even get the wings, he can't move, he can't fly. The vital cavity on a turkey, I like to say, is kind of about the size of an egg shaped softball, so it's not overly huge, so you really want them to settle down. The other ideal one is when they're facing away, whether it's in full strut. If it's in full strut, straight up the vent. If they're not in full strut, line it right up his back and try and hit him in the spine. Both of them will put a bird down fast. You can do the straight on one. The problem with the straight on one is that you're if he's looking at you not drawn and he's facing you, he's probably going to pick you off. I mean, unless he's just really, really engage with that decoy and you're sitting in a blind. But even then, I've had them pick me off before.
Hmm.
So you really got to watch that. And then the shot placement on those, they say aim for the base of the beard. Again, it kind of depends on his body position, if he's up, down, whatever, whether you're going to get into that cavity. So, and that there's a whole big debate between the head shot, neck shot versus body shot thing. But I mean, those are kind of the things that I look for. And again, too many people, and I can say it because I'm guilty of it too. You get caught up in that excitement and you don't wait for things to settle down and you don't wait to pick the spot that you need to aim at, given whatever the situation is. So,
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Now, how does the gear different? I guess it from a bow hunting standpoint, how does the gear differ from a body shot if you're going to go for a body shot versus you're going to try to do the neck head thing?
well, so there really are two different concepts. In the body shot, you can basically take your deer hunting setup. You could use any broadhead that you would for, say, your deer. Now you could argue that a large expandable head, mechanical head with something with a giant cut diameter would probably be preferable to fixed blade. And theoretically, yeah, that'd be true. I mean, I've body shot them with fixed blades. Way, way, way back in the day, I did kill one many, many years ago with an expandable. Um, before I worked for a fixed blade company. But anyways, so it's a little more forgiving. Guys, as far as your setup goes, because they don't want to retune their setup. They just want to grab their arrows and broadheads that they deer hunt with. They don't have to spend any more money, and I totally get that. When it comes to the head and neck type of shot, there's a lot of options out there now when it comes to head and neck choppers. Obviously, full disclosure, I work for Magnus Broadheads. Okay, we make the bullhead, and I'm not going to make this a Magnus commercial at all. There are other options out there now, which are wonderful options as well. Beats came out last year with one, G5 and Chris B this year. There's a couple others out there. The basic principles are the same regardless of whose brand when it comes to head and neck shooting turkeys. Okay. Um, Again, I'm not going to make this a commercial. So, do your homework on what brand you want and all that. There's plenty of other people who've done all that stuff. But when it comes to your setup for that, you are going to have to use the key to the whole thing is the arrow. Because the heads are so big, you've got to have the arrow out in front of the riser, where typically your broadhead, when you're deer hunting at full draw, falls somewhere within the riser, right at the front of the riser. Well, you got to make sure the head is out in front of the riser. And then also you're going to have to watch your sight ring and everything else. So anybody who does this, any manufacturers of these heads will tell you they recommend a full length arrow. Okay.
A longer arrow. Okay.
Yeah. So you're going to take your 32-inch shaft and you're going to cut it down. And for a deer, you're going to cut it down to 28 or whatever your setup is. Well, in this case, you're hunting with a 32-inch long shaft. Well, things change then because the dynamic spine of an arrow actually changes when it lengthens. And then not to mention, every single one of the manufacturers out there making head chopper heads are pretty much going 125 grain and up when it comes to the weight of head. Some in the approaching 200 grain. Yeah. So when you start throwing a heavier, and most deer hunters, I say that because most deer hunters are hunting with a 100 or 125 grain head up front. You start adding more weight up front, it reduces the dynamic spine of the arrow. And so what you find is if you're deer hunting with, say, a 350 spine arrow cut at 28 inches, now you got to go to a 32-inch full-length arrow at a 250 or a 300 spine, depending on what your poundage and draw length and all that BS is. So the whole setup changes. You got to have some different fletching on the back end because you got giant airplane wings out on the front. So you got to go to, some of us use a 4 fletch, others use a 6 fletch. Most of us use a feather configuration to help steer that. So that whole arrow changes. And when you do that, then the tune of your bow's got to change. Your sighting in of your bow's got to change. It's very, very rare that you're going to find somebody who can just pick up a deer arrow and their bow be tuned for that and then slap on any one of our any brand of head chopper with longer arrow and all that stuff and have the exact same endpoint. That's a rarity.
Yeah.
I deal with tech support on our end quite a bit for guys and helping them. So that all changes really. So a lot of us who do it, this is all we do. That's the only way I hunt birds. I have a specific turkey hunting bow set up for it. So I don't have to go and take my deer hunting bow and retune it. Gotcha. And you don't have, when you do that, you don't have to go out and spend $1,500, $2,000 on a setup. I mean, there's a ton of used older bows you can get that are forgiving and set something up and not have much invested in, because for most of us, turkey season is a 2, 3, 4 week period in the spring. It's not like deer season or elk season and all that stuff. So
yeah, I get that. And I can see how guys have tried to put like I would hate to be the guy who didn't think of any of that and then put one of those big heads on and just, I don't know, could have potentially hurt themselves with the head like that, crushing, like overdrawn, or I don't know. Anyway.
So I'll tell you a true story. So this goes back to before I worked for Magnus, and they had just came out with the bullhead. So we're going way back to like 2008 or something like that. Okay. There had been the guillotine out that you put the green straws on and all this. Anyway, so I took at the time a Magnus bullhead, and I had a QAD arrow rest on my bow, and never even thought about that. I knew I needed a longer arrow, but never even thought about like the sight, for example. Mm-hmm. Had it on there, had one of the blade index vertically, came to full draw. When I did, the arrow came up and broadhead lifted behind the sight, and I didn't realize it. And when I dropped that string, it was like a grenade going off because that blade hit the bottom of the sight housing, grenaded everything. I actually put a hole in my father-in-law's pole barn because I was inside. It was in the middle of wintertime. And yeah, so it was and thankfully I didn't get hurt, but it's a real learning experience. It taught me real quick, like, okay, when you set up your bow, you either have to make sure that your setup is so your sight ring is above no matter where the blade's positions are, or make sure when you nock an arrow, you make sure you index it so that the blades cannot hit a sight ring.
Yeah.
So, these are things you learn, but I mean, shit, that was, 20 some odd years ago, and you
Right.
learn a lot, when nobody
Yeah.
else is doing it. So,
Yeah. And that might even affect your knock point on your string
oh yeah.
at some points like that. So
Oh, and your anchor point, because your
anchor
peep
points.
sight,
Yep.
your peep, if you got to raise your sight versus what your normal, you're going to have to raise your peep, which may
Everything
adjust
has to
your
be.
everything changes.
Yeah.
And for some people and some bows, the changes are more extreme than others.
Yeah.
It's so situational dependent. So,
Yeah. I feel you. Well, when was the last time you used a gun for turkey season? How many years ago?
you know what? Before this, it was a long time. I think it was 3 years ago. I was turkey hunting in Michigan. I got down to like the last day of the either the last day of the season, or it was definitely the last day I could go up there. And I took my bow and I took a gun, and I was not hunting out of a blind. I was sitting on the ground trying to get one done, self-filmed, sitting on the ground. And I had a Tom hang up at like 25 yards. He would not commit to the decoys. I think he knew I was there. And I tried to draw on him, and he got real skittish. And I had like a little uh, burlap cover in front of my tripod of my camera. And so I just eased my bow down. I slid over and I grabbed my shotgun and I shot him. So that was 3 years ago. But before that, boy, you'd have to go. I mean, about 10 years ago, I did reap one with a shotgun just because I always wanted to see if I could do, what it was like. Been there, done that. And then you got to go back, I don't know, maybe 20 years or so
Yeah.
before that, since I'd killed one with a shotgun.
Yeah.
So,
I can remember I told myself, instead of waiting until the season to buy my shotgun tag, I got my my archery tag for turkeys a handful of years ago, and I said I'm only gonna go after it with a bow. So once I buy the tag, that's all I can do. So I did it, and it lasted about 3 days, and I gave up. And I was like, I don't have the property to put a blind up and make sure, like it's all set up and all that stuff. I don't live close enough to that. If the wind blew it down, I'd have to show up in the dark and still put a blind up or all that stuff. And so, I went at that for about one season, and then I said, I think I'm just going to stick with shotguns for a while, and maybe I'll go back to trying to get one with a bow at some point. But right now,
yeah.
it's shotgun.
Well, I always tell people, because people are always like, well, you know what? I think I'm going to try bow hunting, but I'm going to take my shotgun along. And I go, no, because I guarantee you, if you take the shotgun along, you're going to kill it with the shotgun. Because I found, and I did this way back again when I started bow hunting turkeys in the early 2000s, I would try that same thing. And sure enough, you'd kill them with a shotgun. And I found, I was like, you either got to commit to the bow, or say the hell with it and leave the bow at home and just keep shotgun hunting. I mean, and that's great if that's what you want to do. But I had just gotten to a point where I was like, I at the time, this sounds arrogant, but you got to understand, turkey hunting was a lot different back then. It was easy. Killing them with a shotgun back in the late 90s and early 2000s was about as easy as it got.
Completely different
It was
vibe
totally
out
different
there.
game. Well, and a lot of that had to do with there wasn't the pressure that there is now today. Places to go hunt birds were more accessible. It was more affordable.
More turkeys, period. Just more turkeys,
and
period.
they practically gave tags away, man, for next to nothing. Dude, I hunted Osceolas in the swamps of Florida. True story, in the swamps of Florida in the early 2000s for $25. That's what my non-resident tag cost me. You got 2 turkey tags for that $25, and they were good for a calendar year. So what I did was I went towards in the latter half of one season, killed a bird, and then went around the next year and killed one the next spring before my tags expired. So
Yeah.
it was just back then it was so much different than it is now.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, you've been successful. Okay. This year you got one, and it's kind of a big deal because it's all over the place now, right? As far as you record your hunts, the clip has gone out. Everybody's talking about this shot. How many angles, how many different cameras did you have set up on this bird that you
I
ended
had
up shooting?
I had 3 camera angles of the bird and 1 of myself. So I was
Oh,
running 4 cameras total, but 3 of the actual impact of the bird. Yes.
okay. And so how do you connect all those GoPros or whatever cameras? Is it all on an app where you hit record one
No.
time and they all fire? No?
No. So how I film my hunts is I've got my main Sony A7S III, that my mirrorless setup in the blind with me. That's my main A cam.
Mhm.
And then I run 2 DJI Action 5 action cameras, very similar to GoPro. Okay.
Yep.
I'm a fan of DJI over GoPro. But anyways, and so what I do, and I've been doing this for eons, is I take them out and I put them on little tiny tripods. I spray paint everything. I actually 3D print and I make a cover that slides down over my action camera that's brown. And so it kind of camouflages it. And then I plug in an external battery that's just like what you would take if you go on a trip, you need to charge your cell phone. And I plug it in because any action camera, the batteries don't last. Okay, so you got power, it's sitting there. So I usually take them and set a couple of them out by the decoys at a couple different angles. I had one at the decoys in this one. The other one I had actually setting at the base of my blind, projecting out for a super wide view. And then I run them in what we call looping mode. Both GoPros, DJIs, I'm sure some of the off brands have them too, where you can actually run the camera to just sit there and continually record. And so it continually records in a loop, and you can adjust the time of the loops. I personally like 20-minute loops. So that camera is sitting there and it's recording for 20 minutes and it saves in so many increment files. And then what happens when it gets to the end of 20 minutes, it overwrites the first 2 or 3 minutes from the previous 20 minutes. So you always, at all time, have the current, most recent 20 minutes.
Gotcha.
So in the case of like if you shoot a bird or if I do this deer hunting, stuff like that, some action comes in, I can actually go out, I can hit the start stop button and I've got 20 minutes of action to record. Now you can control them with apps on your phone or they've got remote controls. Honestly, they all connect Bluetooth and it's all hit or miss and sucks. And I've just found I just do it this way and it works.
Nice.
99% of the time it works. I had a couple times where it doesn't. So yeah, they sit there and they run in looping mode. And so in, this particular one I killed, after I killed him, um, I got 20 minutes of footage there. I got time to deal with it. I go out and I hit the stop record button on both of them. I got it. The other one that was in the blind was mounted to my tripod and it was a DJI Pocket 3 camera, which is an amazing camera. And I've got it, so I turn it on and it automatically records me.
Yeah.
So that's my whole setup and how it's done, basically.
Okay. All right. So that's the details of it.
Correct.
So long story short, you shot this turkey, you recorded it, and you caught some amazing footage of a turkey's head just coming straight off its body. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Your arrow came in and decapitated it, and it just clean, like popped right off of its neck, and it's now all over the place. Like I saw it on social media. Everybody else is on social media. I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second here.
Yes.
But I'm gonna preface it by saying one of my favorite things about turkey hunting is watching a tom come in, and I'm speaking from a shotgun standpoint here, at 20 yards on my Mossberg with a choke, take a full load of pellets right to the face and watch his head just snap back and fall straight to the ground, right?
Yeah.
That in a way, this is going to sound crazy, but that gets me off. Like, that's what I love.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And there's something about that head coming off too that is pretty amazingly awesome, right? I mean, it was just awesome. Now, the devil's advocate part of me goes, why is it necessary to post that? Because I like, in a world where that could instantly go from awesome, only staying in the hunter's side of things, to non-hunters seeing that and go, that's brutal, that is disrespectful to the animal, the antis get a hold of all that. Why is that necessary to post?
Well, nothing's necessary, right?
Right.
Um, so there's many reasons. And I'm gonna approach it from this angle. So
Okay.
those who get upset about it and be like, that's, and I've had hunters say this, which shocked me,
Yeah.
that's disrespectful to the animal that you killed it that way or what. I actually had a landowner one time tell me I couldn't hunt anymore because he thought it was brutal while I was shooting the animal. Like, have you ever gone to the store and bought a turkey or a chicken? How do you think they kill them? They cut their heads off. I
Actually,
mean,
they don't cut their heads off, but it is a way, because I've worked in a turkey kill plant before.
yeah,
It is much more derogatory, if that's even the word, and brutal than what your
right,
turkey's head came off and it
right,
died instantly.
right. Well,
There's times where after they get their neck slit and that get boiled
mhm,
alive and then their feathers beaten off by this giant machine, that they're
yep,
still alive after that.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, and I remember as a kid, my grandma, grew up on a farm and her talking about, her and her dad going out and cutting chickens' heads off with an axe. Like, I mean,
Yep.
so this is nothing new. Okay.
Right.
So I will argue that it's the most humane and quickest death that a animal that we hunt could ever, it's not like, I mean, a deer, you shoot them, you make a good shot, and hopefully they're dead within 10 seconds. But I mean, they know what happened. You
Yep.
body shoot a bird, he's not dead right away.
Right.
Anyway, okay. So why post it? A couple reasons. One, because it's my social media and I'm going to do what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is that I do work for a broadhead company that is our specialty product when it comes to turkey hunting, and therefore, from a business standpoint, I have to do that
Mm-hmm.
for that business. And I think that when I post that stuff, while there are those who detract, who don't like it and get upset, I always argue that because I've done it. I've body shot so many birds, and I used to lose two birds for every one I'd kill, and that was a me thing. It was always a me thing. It's not the bird's fault. It's not an equipment fault. It's not hitting them properly. So I look at it as head and neck shooting birds with a bow, in my opinion, is more ethical because it's a quicker death, a easier recovery, a shorter recovery, less lost birds. So I want to promote head and neck shooting birds with a bow and arrow, regardless of whose brand of head chopping head you buy, over body shooting birds. So you've got to spread that word out there.
Yeah.
Um, and I just there's nothing necessary about posting outside of all those reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
it's my channel. Yes, I know I'm gonna get flack. I've gotten flack before. I've never got the viral feedback that I got this time around. Although I will say the vast majority was very positive.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I mean, yeah,
What
that's
was the feedback from the non-supportive? What did that sound like?
oh, a lot of the non-supportive stuff was, the typical, um, the typical shit that you hear of like, uh, oh, too bad it wasn't you that was getting
Oh yeah.
decapitated.
Yeah.
There was a few of those comments. There was the typical, oh, this is so brutal to do this to an animal. How can you do this? Whatever. Which we get those at deer hunting too.
Yep.
There was the oh, this is so disrespectful to the animal and all that. And I'm like, hey, whatever. What I thought was the funniest was all of the people who said that it was AI generated, that
Oh
that
yeah.
really didn't happen, which I thought
Yeah.
was just hilarious.
Yeah.
And then so I uploaded the video of it, because at first it was just a still shot. It was basically, I took frame grabs from the video footage, because that whole part of it was how you set the camera up to operate, but there is luck involved. Like the fact that the arrow literally is going through his neck and it's at like the midpoint of the arrow, that's luck in the timing, that's when the shutter opened and closed.
Mm-hmm.
But it was such a cool and in focus series of images that I was like, that's badass. And I know my hunting friends will think it's cool. And
Yeah.
I posted it. And then people were like, no, that's AI generated. So then I took the video clips and I just put them into like a 40-second reel and put it up. And every time somebody say it's AI generated, I said, oh yeah, I brought receipts. You want to see this? Boom. And
Yeah.
nobody once went back and said, oh dude, I'm sorry. I owe you an apology. Like,
Yeah.
not one,
Yeah.
but
That
I
is
don't care.
crazy. I mean, that's 1 in a million photography or videography
Oh
right there,
yeah.
the way it's
Yeah.
set up. Like,
And I mean, I've killed, I don't know. I quit counting years ago. I've killed north of somewhere around 50 birds, maybe more with my bow. And of those, all but, I mean, all but a handful have been head chopping,
yeah,
scenarios. And you don't get a complete decap all the time. I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot of times it's partially connected. Maybe you yank the shot and you only catch, half of the neck. It's always a quick kill. I mean, I've never
yeah,
had one that wasn't a quick kill. I did hit one down in the body one time, which they should bounce off the body. It did kill the bird. I'd let it lay a couple hours. I felt terrible about it, but that stuff happens, it's bow hunting. But my point is I don't know. Let's say you kill 50 of them that way, you're probably going to get a decap on
yeah,
15 to 20. The rest of them is partially connected. And so this was definitely the best, cleanest images, the best footage I've ever had of a decap in all of my years of doing this. And I was excited about it. I was like, man, this is cool from like a marketing standpoint for Magnus and, for me. And, I still haven't done the final edit of the video that I'm going to do on YouTube for the thing. I was just excited. I started sharing it with a couple of friends of mine. I was like, shit, I'm going to put this in like a 4 stacked image thing and just put it on my pages. I
yeah.
had no freaking idea. I had
It was,
no idea
yeah,
what it would turn into. It was hilarious.
yeah. I will say this from the business standpoint, right? You work for a broadhead company, and I've talked with
Correct.
several, you know, eh, back in the day. I shouldn't say back in the day because it happens roughly every year. Some dipshit posts a picture of just like, I don't know, like the tongue out, the blood all over the
Yep.
nose, like they're riding it or like they're
Yeah.
kissing, like I don't know. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You're not violating the bird after it's dead, right? Like,
No,
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 like some people do. Like,
no.
I don't know. There's some people that do some crazy stuff after the animal is dead. And then those always spark like some kind of debate of whether we should post, dead animals on social media or how we should take trophy pics and things like that. That is what it is. But from a business standpoint, I've talked to a lot of broadhead manufacturers over the years, and they're like, do you know what
Hmm.
sells broadheads? The goriest,
Yep.
most blood soaked ground and deer just soaking, like dripping blood, or turkeys' heads popping off like that sells broadheads, right?
Oh yeah.
Because ultimately you're kidding yourself if you're trying to find a sweet and ethical manner in which to promote a broadhead. And the reason that I like the broadheads that I put on my bow and
Hmm.
or on my arrows is because it does a massive amount of damage
Yep.
on the tissue when it hits it, whether it's the perfect double lung shot or it's a bad shot that I put on in the guts or even further back, and that still allows me to get my deer or my turkey or whatever animal I'm hunting because of the marginal shots and the damage that it does to tissue. So the goal of a broadhead is to do as much damage as humanly possible in order for a successful recovery of that animal. And sometimes there's not a way to, say, oh, look how effective this is in a polite manner. There's not
No.
a broadhead is designed to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, it is, and we see it. And I always have mixed emotions about the whole thing because I feel like it's a balancing act when you, from a company's perspective, because that's what everybody wants to know. I mean, I just circle it back to deer hunting is they want to know, what was that blood trail like? How easy was it to get on the ground? So you have to show those images. And
Yeah. And that's not
you
just arrows and bow hunting. That's shotgun shells and
exactly.
waterfowl shells and upland bird,
Exactly.
all that stuff.
Right. The goal of us as hunters is always to put down an animal as quickly, humanely, ethically as possible, be able to track it and recover it as quickly as possible. And the brass tacks of that is that means blood on the ground. And there's a gory
Animal's going to
aspect
die.
to
Yep.
killing any animal. Here's what I'll say about the turkey and especially this situation and past. I will say that you said this is great. I'm going to circle back to what you said earlier about shooting a turkey in the face with a shotgun and watching that head flop over. And I agree, that is one of the coolest things. And it's similar when you're shooting one in the head and neck with a broadhead. Um, there's a part of you that turns into internally a 5-year-old, and you're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this happened!" And you
Yeah.
actually kind of chuckle, and you're like, "That's the coolest thing you've ever seen."
Yeah.
And, I go back and I watch old videos that I did. And after the shot, that gut response is a little bit of laughing. And that's not intended to be disrespectful to the animal. It's just this in our DNA, like, holy shit, I can't believe this happened type of
Yeah.
thing. What I focus on anymore, and you're going to see it when I actually put this video out, I make a conscious effort anymore the last several years when I kill them not to laugh about that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's things you can laugh about, like, oh my God, I can't believe this actually happened. You can chuckle about that, but not laugh about the actual impact and pay a lot more respect to the
Yeah.
animal because I'll tell you right now, I mean, nobody respects a deer or a turkey as much as I do. I mean, I love them
Yeah.
just as much as you or anybody else does, and I want to respect them. I also want to be real. And also pride myself in the photographs that I take afterwards of whether it's a deer or a turkey. Is try not to show a bunch of excessive blood,
Mm-hmm.
in the hero shots, the grip and grins.
Yeah.
There's some I have to, you guys show an entrance hole with some blood for marketing or the blood trail stuff like we've been talking. And even if you look at those still shots in those 4 images, you don't see blood. I mean, there's a couple droplets you can see in the one of, spraying the air, but you're not seeing a lot of blood in that. It is being respectful. Anymore like the final videos on YouTube and stuff, you got to kind of dull out the blood anyway. And I try not to focus on that stuff. But it's a part of it. And people can say I'm disrespecting the animal, or you are if you kill a bird whatever way you choose to, or deer or whatever it is. At the end of the day, I think the bulk of us hunters, the bulk of us, love these animals more than anybody could understand, and we don't want to disrespect them. We are
Yeah.
also out here having fun. I mean, we're out here doing something we love. Just as you could be an NFL player and score a touchdown in a game and do some stupid dance that I think is ridiculous. They're out there, they're having fun. They did
Yeah.
something, they achieved the goal that they were trying to do. They're
Yeah.
celebrating, and we should celebrate our wins as hunters as well. I mean,
Yep.
hopefully we do it respectfully, but that gets misinterpreted, especially in today's social media where everybody's a keyboard cowboy and
Yep.
lives in a glass house because, God forbid that,
You make a mistake.
they've never
Yep.
committed a sin of any sort.
Yep. I feel you. I feel that.
So then
Yeah,
it
man.
goes back to why do I post it? Because it's my channel, and quite frankly, I don't give a shit what they
Yeah.
think.
Yep. And
So
that's the only way to really live your life, to be honest with you, is not to care what other people think of you. So,
yeah, you try not
um,
you try not to, but I mean, you'd be lying to say. I mean, at first when I saw some of the comments, I was like, God, it's dang, I can't believe this. And then
mhm.
the more they came in, I was just freaking laughing. I couldn't even
Yeah.
keep up with them all.
Yeah. 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 It's almost like I compare that laughing. It's not even necessarily a laugh. It's oh my God. You're talking about the oh my God. It's like when my boys or the neighborhood kids, they come, we have a basketball hoop in our driveway. The further back they make the shot, or they do a trick shot, or,
Mm-hmm.
they can't see the hoop, they're behind the car and they throw the ball over top of the car and they swish it in the basketball hoop, and they all go crazy. That's kind of what it's like, right? When you like just heart shot a
Mm-hmm.
deer, or just, turn a turkey's head into mist. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, it's like that for hunters. Like, you're just like, yeah, woo, yeah, like a Ric Flair, woo, like
Yeah.
whatever the case is, and that's how we
Well,
celebrate, man, and
well,
that's
yeah, and
that's okay.
you look at all the effort that goes in on the front end, whether you're deer hunting, turkey hunting, whatever, scouting, preparation, all the practice. I'm telling you, man, people are like, "Oh, that was a lucky shot." I'm like, "You have no idea."
How
I
much
can
time?
tell you, I can
Yeah,
tell you that I probably have sent more head chopping heads downrange over my career when practice and everything than any other human being. And I talk to guys like Josh Bomar and Chris B and all these others that head chop, and they're all like, "Yeah, you were the guy doing it before us."
yeah,
And the people have no idea how much practice goes into that shot and making that shot happen. I
yep,
mean, I'll bet you this year alone, I probably put phew,
yeah,
500 or more shots downrange,
yep,
prepping for that shot,
yep,
you know? And
yep,
so when it all comes together, all that work, you're like, holy shit, I can't believe it. And so, yeah, you do the woohoo, yes,
yep,
let out a little bit of a laugh or whatever, because you know what all went into it. But the thing is, people don't see that. And I sometimes try and convey it. I'm going to on this one because I'm going to focus on, I look at this as it was the perfect shot. Again, this is probably
yeah,
the cleanest decap I've ever had, the best footage. And I'm really going to lean into, I've already been thinking about this on the video, and I've got a lot of video footage about all the prep and the practice that went into this to making a perfect shot. But even then, people don't realize it,
yeah.
and everything.
They'll
I
just
mean,
they'll just watch the short little clip of it and then they'll move on.
yeah,
Just
I
like
mean,
the world we live in. So
yeah, was Michael Jordan not supposed to celebrate when he won a championship, in NBA basketball because his entire freaking life he'd been preparing for that moment?
right,
You know? I mean, come
right,
on,
right,
you know?
right. Absolutely. Well, congratulations on an awesome bird and an awesome collection of video. And I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to see the video once it does come, the full video once it does come out. But are you done hunting this for the year's turkey, or do you have one more
No,
state left?
I still have a Michigan tag. I went up a few weeks ago. I think right after you and I spoke a couple weeks ago. And man, we were way up north and it was cold and wet and it was nasty. Birds were kind of yarded up pretty hard in winter flocks. I think I'm going up this weekend to a different piece of property. So yeah, I got a tag up there that I'm focusing on. I've got my one buddy around here. He's older than I am, about 10 years, and doesn't get around. He shotgun hunts, and I like taking him. You never know how many more years we got. So I'm going to take him out a few times. He went out on his own this morning because I couldn't go. I had some work stuff to do. So yeah, my season's not done. But any more life gets in the way. I wish I could still go bounce around 5 or 6 states in a year, but I don't know, man. I thought the older I get, life would slow down and I'll afford more time. But dude, it gets
It
crazier and
does not.
crazier the older I get. It's freaking nuts. So, but
Yep.
yeah, how about you? Have you been out much yet this year with
No,
your knee?
nope, I have not. I've been out turkey hunting 0 times because of the knee, but I'm hoping that in the next 2 weeks before the Iowa season ends, that I will maybe get out a day or two to take the kids, and that's really it. I
Good for you.
still I still don't necessarily feel comfortable on uneven ground yet, and so if I do go out, it's going to be like straight walks, like straight
Yeah,
flat ground into a timber line, and then just sit up there or something. So
yeah,
we
yeah.
will
I don't
see.
blame you.
We
I
will
don't blame
see.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta keep it safe right now and let that knee
Yeah.
heal.
Hey, dude, I'm
So,
just trying to get into a tree stand in October or November.
right.
Really, that's all
That's
I'm
right.
trying to do.
Yeah.
So, all
Yep.
right. Well, Derek, man, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to hop on the How to Hunt Turkey podcast and BS with us for a little bit. If if you guys are seriously enjoying the How to Hunt Turkey podcast, please go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you download and listen to this and give us a 5-star review. Also know that the How to Hunt Turkey podcast is on YouTube as well. Go find it and subscribe and like. Other than that, Derek, man, thanks for your time, and we will talk to you when we talk to you, man.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it again, man.